First contact deception. The monitoring station Delta 7 hung silently in deep space, its sensors perpetually trained on the blue-green planet called Earth. Senior observer Caxel adjusted his crystalline viewing apparatus, mandibles clicking in boredom as he watched yet another primitive rocket launch from the Human Space Center in Kazakhstan. Another waste of fuel, he muttered to his assistant. They still haven't figured out antimatter containment. Primitives. What Caxel didn't know, what none of the Galactic Confederation's monitoring stations had detected, was that the rocket he was watching was entirely for show. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a facility known only to a select few humans, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was putting the finishing touches on humanity's real space program. Final tests on the quantum fold drive are complete, Elena announced to the assembled world leaders on their secure quantum-encrypted channel. The deception has worked perfectly. Not a single monitoring station has detected our true capabilities. For 30 years, humanity had maintained an elaborate charade. Every primitive rocket launch, every clumsy satellite deployment, every celebrated small step in space exploration, all carefully choreographed theater for the watching aliens. Meanwhile, a secret global initiative codenamed Project Chrysalis had been developing technology that would reshape the galaxy's balance of power. Admiral James Chen stood in the Antarctic Facilities Command Center, watching holographic displays of the alien monitoring stations. "How long have they been watching us?" he asked Elena. "Since our first radio broadcasts reached space," she replied, pulling up historical data. "They classified us as a pre-spacefaring civilization and have been waiting for us to either develop FTL travel or destroy ourselves. Their arrogance is our greatest advantage." The real human fleet waited in suspended animation, hidden in vast chambers beneath the ice. 300 ships, each powered by quantum fold drives that made conventional FTL travel look primitive by comparison. The ship's hulls incorporated metamaterials that bent light and sensor readings around them, derived from studying the same principles that cephalopods use for camouflage. The Confederation thinks we're decades away from achieving basic interplanetary travel, James mused, watching another carefully staged rocket failure over the Pacific. Their anthropologists predict we'll make first contact sometime in the next century. Instead, we're about to reveal that humanity has already surpassed their level of technology. Elena finished. The quantum fold drive doesn't just match their FTL capabilities, it renders them obsolete. A journey that takes their ships months will take ours hours. In hindsight, the Confederation's greatest mistake had been assuming that humanity's visible technology reflected their true capabilities. They never considered that a species might deliberately appear more primitive than they were. Their monitoring focused on obvious signs of advancement: rocket launches, satellite deployments, space stations. They completely missed the quantum research happening in hidden facilities around the globe. The deception hadn't been easy. It required unprecedented cooperation between Earth's nations, all working together to maintain the illusion of a divided, primitive humanity still struggling to reach their own moon. Every space program failure was carefully staged. Every public announcement about space technology was carefully crafted to reinforce the image of humanity as a promising but underdeveloped civilization. Now, after 3 decades of preparation, it was time for humanity to reveal its true face to the galaxy. But they would do it on their terms, not as supplicants begging to join the galactic community, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars through ingenuity and patience. "Begin Operation Chrysalis," Admiral Chen ordered. Throughout the facility, lights dimmed as power was diverted to the quantum fold drives. Deep beneath the ice, 300 ships hummed to life, their crews taking their stations after years of training in secret. The greatest reveal in human history was about to begin, and somewhere above, senior observer Caxel was about to have a very interesting day at work. Continued in Part 2, The Silent Revolution. The quantum fold drive wasn't humanity's only breakthrough. In the decades of careful preparation, Earth's hidden laboratories had produced innovations that would shock the galactic community. Dr. Maya Patel stood in her underground laboratory in the Himalayas, watching as her latest creation took shape, a neural interface that could process information faster than any computer in the Confederation's database. "The aliens think we're still struggling with basic AI," she said to her colleague, Dr. David Cohen. "They have no idea we've already transcended traditional computing limitations." The laboratory hummed with activity as researchers from every nation worked together on technologies that would soon reshape the galaxy. They had learned early on that the Confederation's technological development had stagnated, trapped by assumptions about what was and wasn't possible. "Their biggest weakness is their certainty," David observed, reviewing data from their latest tests. "They stopped questioning, stopped pushing boundaries. They think they've reached the pinnacle of technological achievement." Maya nodded, remembering the encrypted transmissions they'd intercepted from alien monitoring stations. The Confederation had categorized humanity as promising but primitive, predicting it would take centuries for Earth to reach their level of development. The irony was delicious. In other hidden facilities around the globe, similar breakthroughs were being refined. The Chinese quantum labs had perfected shield technology that could withstand the force of a supernova. Brazilian scientists had developed bioengineering techniques that could adapt human bodies to any environment. Indian researchers had created AI systems that made the Confederation's best computers look like pocket calculators. But keeping these advances secret hadn't been easy. The Antarctic fleet was just the visible tip of humanity's preparation. Every major nation maintained hidden research facilities, their power usage masked by elaborate systems of energy redistribution. When the alien monitors detected unusual energy signatures, they found only what humanity wanted them to see: failed experiments, dead ends, and primitive attempts at advancement. Admiral Chen's voice came through on the quantum-encrypted channel. "All stations, status report. Operation Chrysalis begins in 6 hours." Maya's team had been waiting years for this moment. Their neural interfaces would be crucial in the coming revelation. Human pilots, enhanced by technology that the Confederation couldn't even comprehend, would demonstrate capabilities that would shatter alien assumptions about what was possible. "Do you think they'll try to stop us?" David asked, helping Maya secure the laboratory's sensitive equipment for the coming operation. "They'll certainly try," Maya replied. "But you can't stop what you don't understand. And they fundamentally don't understand how we think, how we innovate. They'd spent centuries playing by rules we never agreed to." The aliens had made a critical mistake in their assessment of humanity. They saw Earth's nations competing with each other and assumed it meant humans couldn't cooperate. They never imagined that the competition itself might be part of an elaborate deception, driving innovation while hiding true progress behind a facade of rivalry. In the Himalayan facility's command center, Maya watched as final preparations were made across the globe. The quantum network connected all of humanity's hidden facilities, coordinating the most ambitious reveal in human history. On screens around her, she could see similar scenes playing out in laboratories beneath the Sahara, the Amazon, the Mariana Trench. "All research stations, begin synchronized power-up sequence," Admiral Chen's voice commanded. "Prepare for full-spectrum reveal." Maya's hands flew across her neural interface, initiating protocols that had been refined over decades. Around the world, hidden generators powered up, feeding energy into technologies that would soon change everything. The quantum fold drives of the Antarctic fleet were just the beginning. "They think we're divided," Maya said softly, watching the coordination between facilities that the aliens never knew existed. "They think we're primitive. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to work together while appearing to work apart." In 6 hours, the galaxy would learn just how wrong they'd been about humanity. The silent revolution was about to become very, very loud. Continued in Part 3. Operation Dawn. At precisely 300 UTC, humanity played its hand. In synchronized precision, 300 quantum fold drives activated across Antarctica. The alien monitoring stations didn't even have time to raise an alarm before the ships vanished, leaving behind only confused sensor readings and a suddenly very empty stretch of ice. Senior observer Caxel was enjoying his 9th cup of stimulant when every alarm in monitoring station Delta 7 screamed to life. His crystalline viewing apparatus shattered as he jumped in shock, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. Impossible, he chittered, staring at readings that couldn't exist. They can't. They're not. They're supposed to be launching another primitive rocket today. The human fleet reappeared simultaneously at strategic points across Confederation space. Each ship emerged precisely one light minute from major Confederation installations, close enough to demonstrate intent, far enough to be non-threatening. The formations were perfect, the timing exact. This was not the work of a primitive species. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Humanity's Dawn, watching as Confederation stations scrambled to respond. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered calmly. Across human space, hidden facilities emerged from their camouflage. The Himalayan laboratory rose from the mountain like a blooming flower of advanced technology. The Mariana Trench facility surfaced in a display of engineering that made Confederation architects' work look primitive. Hundreds of installations revealed themselves, each demonstrating capabilities that the aliens had deemed impossible. On every Confederation communication channel, on every frequency they monitored, a single message began playing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice, calm and clear. "Greetings, citizens of the Galactic Confederation. We are humanity. You have been watching us for centuries, waiting for us to prove ourselves worthy of joining your community. Today, we demonstrate that we have surpassed it." The Confederation's response was predictably chaotic. Some stations immediately went into defensive lockdown. Others attempted to launch attacks, only to find their weapons couldn't penetrate the quantum shields. A few tried to flee, their fastest ships crawling through space at speeds that now seemed antiquated. "They're mobilizing their defense fleet," Maya reported from her neural interface station. "Exactly as predicted. Their entire response is following the probability matrices we calculated." The Confederation's military response was impressive by their standards, thousands of ships converging on the human vessels. But they were fighting a war from the previous era, using tactics and technology that humanity had already evolved beyond. "Let them come," Admiral Chen said quietly. "But no aggressive action. We're not here to fight. We're here to teach." The neural interface pilots demonstrated maneuvers that defied Confederation physics. Ships danced through space in ways that their sensors couldn't even track. Every attempt to engage or contain the human fleet was met with technologies that shouldn't exist, capabilities that violated their understanding of universal laws. From his monitoring station, Caxel watched in stunned disbelief as everything he thought he knew about humanity was proven wrong. The primitive rockets, the clumsy satellites, the celebrated small steps into space, all had been theater, a masterful deception sustained for decades. "How?" he whispered to his viewing screen. "How did we miss this?" The answer, of course, was pride. The Confederation had been so certain of their superiority, so confident in their assessment of humanity, that they never questioned what they saw. They'd watched humanity's space programs, but they never looked deeper. They monitored Earth's broadcasts, but they never understood Earth's silence. As the operation continued, humanity revealed more of its advances. Quantum communication networks that made Confederation transmissions look like smoke signals. AI systems that could predict and counter any tactical response before it was even implemented. Biological enhancements that allowed human crews to operate in conditions that would kill most alien species. Phase 3, Admiral Chen announced. "Begin diplomatic interface." From every human ship, invitations were transmitted to Confederation leadership. Not requests for admission to their alliance, but offers to share technology, to teach, to help them advance beyond their self-imposed limitations. It was a demonstration of power wrapped in an extension of friendship. The galaxy was changing. The carefully maintained hierarchy of the Confederation was crumbling in the face of humanity's revelation. And this was just the beginning. Continued in Part 4, Ripples Across the Stars. News traveled faster than light across the Confederation's 1,000 worlds. Humanity, the supposedly primitive species that could barely reach their own moon, had emerged as a technological powerhouse that made the Confederation's most advanced achievements look obsolete. The ripples of this revelation threatened to tear the galactic community apart. In the Grand Hall of the Confederation Council on Capital World Nexus, chaos reigned. Representatives from hundreds of species argued, threatened, and panicked. High Counselor Vexthor, their leader for the past 3 centuries, struggled to maintain order. "The humans have violated every protocol," shouted the Regellian ambassador, their crystalline form flashing with anger. "They deceived us. They developed restricted technologies." "Restricted by whom?" came the calm voice of Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who stood at the center of the hall. The human delegation had been invited to explain themselves, though many suspected it was really a demand disguised as an invitation. "We never signed your treaties. We never agreed to your restrictions. We simply watched, learned, and evolved." The silence that followed her words was deafening. The Confederation's entire system of governance was built on the assumption that technological development followed a predictable, controllable path. Humanity had just proven that assumption devastatingly wrong. Meanwhile, across Confederation space, smaller powers began to see opportunities. The Andorian League, long suppressed by Confederation technology restrictions, opened diplomatic channels with Earth. The Proxima colonies, treated as backward frontier worlds, suddenly found themselves strategically positioned between human and Confederation space. Admiral Chen watched from humanity's dawn as the galactic power structure began to shift. They're realizing that everything they believed about technological development was artificial, he observed to his command staff. The Confederation didn't guide progress. They constrained it. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Some worlds were already attempting to replicate human achievements, with predictably dangerous results. Others were demanding access to Earth's technologies, offering resources, alliances, anything to gain an edge in the rapidly changing political landscape. In her Himalayan facility, Dr. Maya Patel received the first diplomatic delegations from non-Confederation worlds. "We're not here to replace one empire with another," she explained to them. "Humanity's goal isn't dominance, it's advancement. Real advancement, not the controlled evolution the Confederation permitted." The Confederation's military response had effectively ceased. After several failed attempts to contain or challenge the human fleet, reality had set in. Their best ships couldn't match human capabilities. Their most advanced weapons couldn't penetrate human defenses. Their fastest communications couldn't keep up with human quantum networks. But the true shock came from Earth's offer. Instead of demanding concessions or reparations for centuries of surveillance, humanity proposed partnership. They offered to share their advances, to teach the principles behind their technological leap, to help the galaxy's civilizations truly understand the science they'd been using without comprehension. "Your civilization is built on copy technology," Dr. Rodriguez explained to the Council. "You found the ruins of ancient races and learned to use their tools, but you never truly understood the principles behind them. You've been reciting from a book without learning how to read." The truth of her words stung. The Confederation had indeed built much of their technology by reverse engineering artifacts from long-dead civilizations. They had declared certain principles impossible simply because they couldn't understand them. Humanity had started fresh, questioned everything, and surpassed them all. Some council members called for war, but they were quickly silenced by the more pragmatic voices. How do you wage war against an enemy that can appear anywhere, bypass your strongest defenses, and predict your strategies before you execute them? How do you fight a species that spent decades planning this moment while you watched them play with rockets? As the 4th day of the revelation dawned, the galaxy was transforming. The rigid hierarchy of the Confederation was dissolving, replaced by a more complex web of alliances and partnerships. Humanity's emergence had broken chains that no one had even realized existed. "They're afraid," Maya observed, watching the diplomatic feeds. "Not just of our technology, but of what we represent. We've shown them that everything they believed about progress, about their place in the universe, about the very nature of advancement, was wrong. And this was only the beginning. Humanity had revealed their existence, but they hadn't shown all their cards. Not yet. The greatest changes were still to come." Continued in Part 5. New Dawn. 1 month after humanity's revelation, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The rigid structures of the Confederation had given way to something new, something unprecedented. A true coalition of species working together as equals. And at its heart was Earth, not as a conqueror, but as a teacher. In the transformed Grand Hall of what was now called the Galactic Coalition, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before representatives of 1,000 worlds. The fear and anger of the first days had been replaced by something else. Hope. "We kept ourselves hidden not out of fear," she explained, "but because we needed to understand. We watched how you interacted, how you governed, how you restricted progress. We learned from your mistakes, so we wouldn't repeat them." The quantum fold drives that had so shocked the galaxy were now being studied by joint research teams. Human scientists worked alongside alien engineers, explaining not just how the technology worked, but why it worked. The principles behind neural interfaces were being shared with species that had never imagined such possibilities. Admiral Chen, overseeing the integration of fleet technologies, found himself teaching tactics to the same Confederation commanders who had once dismissed humanity as primitive. The key was never the technology itself, he explained to a class of alien officers. It was our ability to think beyond assumed limitations. In the Himalayan facility, now an international research center, Dr. Maya Patel led teams of scientists from across the galaxy. The facility's quantum computers processed solutions to problems that had stumped alien civilizations for millennia. But more importantly, they taught others how to do the same. "Understanding isn't just about knowing how something works," Maya told her diverse group of students. "It's about questioning why it works that way and imagining how it could work differently." The transition wasn't without its challenges. Some former Confederation hardliners still resisted change. Several attempts were made to steal or replicate human technology without understanding the principles behind it. But each challenge was met with the same patience and ingenuity that had characterized humanity's long preparation. Senior observer Caxel, who had watched humanity for so long without seeing them, now led efforts to identify other emerging civilizations that might have been similarly underestimated. "We must learn from our mistakes," he chittered to his new human colleagues. "Who knows what other wonders we've overlooked because of our preconceptions." The revelation of humanity's true capabilities had forced the galaxy to confront uncomfortable truths about itself. The Confederation's practice of hoarding and controlling technology had stifled innovation across countless worlds. Their rigid hierarchies had prevented genuine collaboration and growth. Humanity hadn't just brought new technology, they'd brought a new way of thinking. In orbit above Earth, the flagship Humanity's Dawn had been transformed into a symbol of this new era. Its quantum fold drive now powered a mobile university, carrying knowledge and innovation to the farthest reaches of known space. The ship that had once demonstrated humanity's military capability now showcased their commitment to education and growth. "We spent decades pretending to be less than we were," Admiral Chen reflected, watching students from 100 worlds study in the ship's laboratories. "Now we can finally be what we are: teachers, innovators, explorers." Dr. Rodriguez, addressing the final session of the Transition Council, summed up humanity's vision for the future. "We didn't hide our progress to deceive you, but to perfect it. We didn't reveal it to dominate you, but to free you. And now, together, we can all discover what's truly possible when we stop limiting ourselves and start imagining." As the new coalition took shape, the galaxy began to understand what humanity had known all along: that true progress comes not from following established paths, but from daring to forge new ones. The age of restriction and control was over. A new dawn had truly begun. The stars themselves seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the unleashed potential of a galaxy finally free to grow, to learn, to evolve. Humanity had emerged from hiding not to conquer, but to inspire. And in doing so, they had changed everything. The end.